Hey everyone, Thomas Armstead here. Want to start a new series. I'm a big fan of the old TV show Mad Men, and there were things about it that definitely don't want kids watching. But it was an adult show. But I looked at it as a business show, and I tell you, if they would have just stayed in the office and he never went home or never went on his crazy adventures, Don Draper, I would have loved it because I loved the business lessons. Because it was about the advertising world in the late 50s, 60s, and early 70s, and there's so many business lessons to learn. So we're going to start this series called, we'll call it Lessons from Mad Men. Okay, and one of the great lessons, Don Draper, for those of you who don't know, who's the protagonist, he actually has a secret identity. He took somebody else's identity, came to New York to make a new life for himself, and a young guy who he's in a rivalry with, finds out and brings him into the office of the head owner, the biggest guy, the old guy, and the big guy says, after he says, look, I don't care if he took somebody else's identity. It happens, he is who he is now. Also, he's the moneymaker for the company. And the young guy leaves, and the older guy says to Don Draper, he says, you could fire Pete Campbell. You could fire him. I understand. And then he said, but, here's the lesson. He said, but you never know from whence loyalty is born. And Don Draper and Roger, the other senior person there, they go into the young guy's office, and Roger says, you were fired, but Don, the same person who he ratted out, said not to fire you. Although that wasn't the truth. Pete Campbell became a very loyal ally of Don, even though he had tried to get him fired. And so you never know where loyalty is born. And, it reminds me of a story from real life of a friend of mine. He went away, he came back, he left his apartment with a friend, and the friend was a drug addict, and he didn't know it. Came back, and all his stuff was gone. He had sold it for pennies to buy drugs. And he forgave the guy, It takes a big heart. This is a very special guy. And the guy, to this day, is like one of his best friends, most loyal people that he could trust, because he wants to make up for that wrong that he did. And it's, the law of reciprocity. When somebody does good for you, you immediately want to do something good for them. A friend of mine helped me with a computer thing, took a cigar, threw it across, the room at him. Hey, here's a $10 cigar. He doesn't even really smoke. Which, as a cigar lover, you don't really want to give cigars away to somebody who doesn't smoke. But, it's one of those things you immediately feel that you want to give back. So, lessons from Mad Men, number one, you never know from whence loyalty is born. Think about that. Love to hear your comments. Bye.